twice. You never know if it could change your life. Take a chance, you're neither wrong or right. You never know if you don't roll the dice.
The wheel of time turns, and ages come and pass, leaving memories that become legend. Legend fades to myth, and even myth is long forgotten when the age that gave it birth comes again. In one age,
Thanks, Galadriel.
called the Third Age by some, an age yet to come, an age long past, a wind rose in the mountains of the mist. The wind was not the beginning. There are neither beginnings nor endings to the turning of the wheel of time, because the book series goes on for 14 books, and it never fucking ends. Hello, everyone. It's Dungeon Master of None.
I'm Dungeon Master Matt.
And I'm Dungeon Master Rob, and you guessed it. Today we're talking about The Wheel of Time.
Yes. So join our Taverni pull as we twist the woof and weave.
The woof and weave of the pattern
existence
Yes.
around us.
That's right. We to Tavern. We're going to say a lot of words today,
Tavern.
and we're hopefully we get them all wrong because I have a lot to say about that. But if you're not aware, after 30 some odd years of existence, the Wheel of Time has finally been adapted into a TV series with more than one episode because as we all know, there was a previous TV series with just a
I
pilot.
don't think all of us know.
Do we not all know that? Well, we'll talk
No,
about that
I mean,
too.
I only found that out like 6 months ago.
Oh, okay.
So yes, the Wheel of Time has been around since 1984. Coincidence? I don't know.
I don't think so.
But it's finally brought to the small screen, and man, I'm ready to talk about
We
it.
wanted to talk about it because, like many in our generation of nerds, there were not as many fantasy books to read as one might think. If you were 12 or 13 in the late 90s, you were looking at a lot of Terry Goodkind, a lot of Robert Jordan, a lot of Terry Brooks, and not a whole lot else. And so Matt and I both read several of these books, and I gotta say, I was surprised to see that this ended up being one of the things that Amazon was like, let's make this into a TV
Let's
series.
spend $80 million an episode on it.
Let's hire Rosamund Pike to stand around and look regal and say Trollocs.
Yes. Perhaps Amazon's second most frivolous venture after their like space program, but maybe it's their most frivolous venture. But
They're
unlike their space venture, this has at least produced something of value.
I haven't checked in recently, but their like video game branch has spent hundreds of millions of dollars on games, only one of which has actually existed, which is
Does
New
anyone
World.
play that New World game?
I think some people played it for a while because they were excited about something new. I don't know if anyone's playing it. If you do play it, don't tell us. I don't care. I don't. MMOs are so early
Don't
odds.
tempt Rob.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't talk to me. But yeah. So I guess good for Amazon if they want to be the Bell Labs of the 21st century and just hurl millions of dollars at whatever.
Bell Labs for stupid things.
Yeah, Bell Labs for stuff that sucks. I mean, so let's talk about
with
so
just profit extracted from everyone in society instead of a DoD contract.
Right,
Too.
right.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about the show, we're going to talk about the books, and we're going to talk about the world.
I'm going to try and remember what I can of the role-playing game, too, because, like, you can't find it anymore, and I didn't want to spend, like, $60 on a copy.
I was going to bring this up. I have seen the role-playing game.
I had a copy
Do you
back
have
in the
you-
day. I
you
got
had a
rid
copy?
of it.
Wow.
Yeah. There were so many. It was in the OGL Renaissance. You could buy a copy of anything.
Anyway, the place I've seen it, I also could not find any information on the rules. Couldn't find a copy of it. So we'll talk about that a bit.
I've got
so
some
yeah.
notes.
So first and foremost, heavy spoilers. Obviously, I think we'll try
Or
to
maybe
probably
all of the Wheel of Time.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the whole thing because I want to. But we'll try to keep. I mean, I think necessarily we're gonna have to try to
Yeah.
keep it to what's in the first book, just because there's so much to talk about, and that's what the show has covered so far. But we will spoil everything at some point, probably. But also, you shouldn't worry too much about that because I think the show might be doing something different, which I approve of, and we'll talk about that also. And the second thing is, Matt, I think we should. I don't know. I kind of want to justify why we're talking Wheel of Time while we're talking lore, because I enjoy these conversations greatly. But as a Dungeon Master podcast, I think it's important to remind ourselves like why this is valuable. And to me, the most valuable thing about examining other people's world building or other people's worlds, fantasy creations, is to learn what to do, but most importantly, what not to do. And I think there's a lot of lessons to be gleaned from the Wheel of Time. It's also an important lesson.
No, you're right. There is.
It's also
There's some really good ones. I wrote down like 3 that Mr. Robert Jordan, aka James Oliver Rigney Jr. has taught me.
I would have also gone with a pseudonym. It's also, I think, encouraging.
Oliver Rigney.
It's also encouraging, I
Lives in
think,
the world
because
of dreams. Sorry.
even a deeply flawed and convoluted, confusing, ponderous series like Wheel of Time can become greatly beloved and popular and be made into an $80 bajillion television show. So,
Okay,
live your dreams.
let's start with the television show, and then
Yeah.
add to the books.
Yeah.
And
Let's-
then to the role playing game and world building.
Yeah.
Shall we?
So,
So the here's the funny thing about the television show is that, I mean, Robert Jordan and his wife like sold the rights to some asshole some indeterminate time ago, earlier in the decade, and this guy like had the deal, and like the rights were gonna expire, and then like in, when was this, Rob? Like
I think it was
2015,
2015 or
2014?
2016.
Not that long ago.
Really not that long ago. They put out and I was reading an article on this. I think they bought like an infomercial spot, like it was paid
On
programming
FXX.
on FXX.
They paid
and
for it.
aired
to
it at, like,
run one episode of the Wheel of Time to keep the rights.
Aired it like at midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning or something like that. And it was just the prologue of the first book, which is a totally like something weird is happening here, and takes place thousands of years before the main story.
It's a 22-page adaptation of the 6-page prologue. Which,
Anyway,
I think the 6-page prologue is great.
it is great. It
It is
has
hard to
nothing
make it into a 22-page adaptation. It's a lot of our favorite boy,
Luz Theron God damn it,
Luz
the
Theron
guy.
Telamon,
Luz
played
Theron
by
Telamon. Billy Zane.
Billy Zane. So good. Yelling his wife's name over and over again. Elaine!
Yeah.
Elaine!
Yes.
As he descends into madness.
Yes.
The costumes are terrible. The graphics look like they're from a Nintendo 64.
From what I read, it was filmed in one day. It was clearly like a rights grab. It's the TV version of the 1994 fantasy or Fantastic Four movie.
Okay. Yeah.
A very, very low effort cash in to try to retain the rights.
My children still haven't learned to put their toys away.
Satan take you. Has the taint got you so deep in its grip?
That name.
But if you've never read the books before, it makes a lovely prologue to the Amazon TV series. You immediately appreciate the marginally better acting and the marginally better CGI.
Yes.
And you're like, oh, well, this prologue, it tells me something.
It tells
That's
you
kind
something.
of cool.
So we know both from the unrelated prologue and from the first 3 episodes of Amazon's Wheel of Time, starring Rosamund Pike and a bunch of nobodies from nowhere,
Yeah.
that the
Bunch of very
dragon,
hot nobodies.
very good, very attractive nobodies, that the dragon is a man, a soul, a spirit, a person who is very powerful, and within the cycle of the Wheel of Time is destined to either serve the Dark One or defeat him. The Dark One being the Dark One, the evil guy.
Shaitan.
Shaitan. I'm gonna try to stick to what's in the show, but I can't remember what is and what isn't. So
They
anyway,
don't say Shaitan, which is...
They don't say Shaitan because
very
you
good.
should never say Shaitan. Do not speak the Dark One's true name, or
Right.
you'll draw his attention.
Every
to you.
trope from every fantasy novel is all rolled into just
Yeah,
the
this
Wheel
is
of Time,
something.
which is one of the great things and terrible things about Wheel of Time.
This is something I wrote down from my notes. It's just like kitchen sink fantasy. Like every trope you can possibly imagine, it's here, folks. It's all here. So anyway, so I liked this.
Quiet villagers descended from old blood.
Right,
You know,
right. Farm boy becomes great hero.
discovering a magic sword under your dad's couch.
Gendered magic roles. You love to see it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this dragon in the prologue, which does not exist in the Amazon show, but we know about. He goes mad and dies, and you don't really know like what happens, but he is reborn at the beginning of the events of this show, or well, 20 years prior, right? So we
Right.
know that the dragon exists, and he or she is 20 years old or so. And Moraine Damodred, an Aes Sedai, a sorceress witch, bureaucrat of some sort, and her
basically.
warder Lan Mandragoran show up and look very regal and attractive, and they go looking for the dragon reborn.
I mean, the first 3 episodes, which is what we've seen of the Amazon series, are them showing up at the village and people running away from the village. One of the big things I noticed first about the Amazon show is there's a lot of like sweeping drone and helicopter shots that look gorgeous.
Beautiful.
However, in the very beginning, the beginning of the show is like the first 10 minutes are like, what the fuck, right? There's no good way to start this story. Like,
There's not.
There's no the beginning. There's only a beginning, I suppose. And
There's also no end. It goes on forever.
goes on forever. Best way to start the story is maybe actually the prologue that was in the terrible FXX pilot, because the story starts with like a bizarre occurrence happening that if you don't already know what's going on, makes no sense. And then you're like, oh, and then we're somewhere else. Okay.
This is a challenge, and I have a lot of sympathy for the showrunners. I agree. Well, I think I might have gone with Matt as well and redone the prologue. You can do it in like 5 minutes and get everything that's important. But I think
I don't know if it's the best way to start it. All I know is what they did doesn't work. It's maybe the weakest part of this whole thing.
I do like centering Moraine and Lan as our, not our protagonists, but sort of our anchor characters. I think that works
that
way
was
better.
wise decision number 1.
Yeah,
They're
because-
weird and
cool.
stiff, but they're also cool.
And they
So-
yeah. The thing is,
And also they have a thing they want to do.
yes.
Which is not a thing that the other characters really have until some of them not even yet, but some
Not
of them
even yet,
not
yeah.
until episode 2 or 3.
Yeah, so let's talk about so this is the thing. If we had started with Rand al'Thor chopping wood, that would have been very boring and bad. And I'm glad that we didn't.
Could have
start with
been
that.
worse.
Yeah.
It could have been worse.
So we're introduced to our 4 young hot main characters: Rand al'Thor, Matt.
And their slightly older friend, who is based on the character actors' apparent names, ages, seems exactly the same age. So
But she's 5 years older, Matt. She's practically
5
an
years
old
older.
maid. She's 25 or 26. She's
the actors, you cannot tell that one is older or younger.
no
than
way
the
to
others.
know.
It doesn't matter, but
It
whatever.
doesn't matter. So we've got Rand al'Thor.
Oh, you're so
our-
old.
our
Not even-
young, handsome. His dad's like a hunter or woodcutter or forester or something. Matt Cauthon, who's Cauthon, whatever. I'm gonna call him Cauthon.
Cauthon.
Whose dad is a deadbeat drunk philanderer. No, sorry, his dad's a philanderer. His mom's a drunk. He's got 2 young sisters, and then Perrin Ibera, who's a blacksmith, and all of them are hot. And then there's Egwene. They call her Egwene. I definitely
Egwene.
have my entire life been saying it differently, but whatever. Egwene, whose last name I'm forgetting, who is
She's the innkeeper's daughter, and Newly joined the women's circle.
That's
in
right.
The show.
The normal women's circle of nothing weird happening here. She jumps in a river.
Yeah.
It's fine. And then there's Nynaeve, who's our sort of tag along, who is the village wisdom, who is some sort of healer / wise woman / herbalist,
Woods witch.
alchemist, woods witch. A hedge witch of some sort. And they're all in the beautiful idyllic town of Two Rivers.
No, the area they're from is Two Rivers.
Oh,
the
sorry,
name of their
it's-
town, which is never mentioned in the show, is
That's
Aemond's
right.
Field.
Aedmund's Fields, that's right. Interesting that they didn't. Actually, one of the things we'll talk about is there's too many fucking proper names in the Wheel of Time, so it was probably smart to just skip
Just Two Rivers.
skip
Two Rivers,
skip
easy
Aedmund's
enough to
Field
remember.
and just Two Rivers. So Matt makes a good point, is that we don't really, our main characters don't really have any motivations. I do want to, one thing that was cool that I really liked about the pilot.
Egwene has a motivation. She
Egwene is
actually
the
wants
only-
to do something with her life. Everyone else is like super content to be exactly the same as they are
Exactly.
right now.
Egwene is interesting because throughout the entire series, she actually wants things and has desires and ambitions, but
She wants things besides people to leave her alone, which is what the other characters want,
right.
which is not always the best motivation.
so Rand, Matt, and Perrin are mostly content to drink beer, enjoy Beltane, and lust after women, or Perrin's married. Actually, this was a weird. Is this in the books? I
No,
completely
it was not.
Okay, I was gonna say, boy, yeah. So Perrin's married in the show, and we'll come back to that. But yeah, they don't really want anything. I did like. Now I want to. This was a distinct change, not change, but they did a better job of this in the show than they did in the books. Rand came across to me as being like really genuinely excited about and invested in being a dad, and raising a family and just like living. He seemed to really love the Two Rivers. He's just like an ordinary dude who just like wants to have a farm and a wife and live an ordinary life, which is not uncommon as sort of like fantasy protagonists go, but in the books he just seems sort of like sullen and annoyed and angry all the time, and he seems genuinely sort of sensitive and invested in this in a way that I found a lot more sympathetic than Book Rand, who I find to be intolerable.
Like, three best things the show did is give Rand like an approachable motivation.
Yeah.
He still comes across as sullen and bitchy a lot of the time, but it's better than it could have been. Our hero, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, the main sort of through line for all of our three cool dudes, who are not the only main characters, but are definitely important anchor characters, Perrin, Matt, and Rand, is they're all sullen, recalcitrant. They just don't want to do it. They were
Whatever you ask them to do, they'd say, no, I don't want to do that.
You know how the hero's journey, right? We love our Joseph Campbell here.
We love our refusal of the call.
Yeah,
folks.
they refuse the call, but the great thing is they never stop refusing the call. They refuse the call every
Never
single
get past
book.
that step.
No, they're stuck on refusing the call. And this is quite
If
frankly
only someone had told James Oliver Rigby Jr. that, like, the hero's journey, it's kind of like a wheel.
It's
Maybe you
a
should get
little
on
bit
board
like
with
a
that.
wheel.
Keep moving forward.
I really hope they change this, because one of the most frustrating things about the books and why it takes 14 books to wrap up the series is that they're constantly refusing the call. Like, oh, you're okay, some spoilers here. Like, you're a channeler and destined to do these things. No, I don't want to. You are supposed to marry the Queen of the Sunshine. No, I don't want to. You're a wolf friend and supposed to lead them into battle. No, I don't want to. Every single fucking book. Like, I don't want to. I don't want to do that. Here's a cool thing that you can do and your cool, awesome destiny. And they're just like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to go home. I want to go to my wife. Like, it's just so weird.
The thing is, like, I mean, the response is a fairly normal response, right?
But
I guess if
yeah,
you took like a regular person and you're like, all right, you got to go like die in battle, they'd be like, no. But at the same time, it is a book that is supposed to be entertaining.
It is, and also like even if it
It's
were
not.
no person,
It's not Bartleby the Scrivener or something. It's not just a guy being like, I don't like this. This is bad.
I
This
prefer
makes me
not
uncomfortable.
I prefer not to. Yeah, the thing is I agree that it's an entirely normal response, which is why the refusal of the call is a part of the hero's journey. But the thing is, at some point, you have to stop refusing the call. Like either you straight up opt out, like the Hound in Game of Thrones and disappear from the narrative, or you accept and move on. Either way, if you're stuck in sort of the limbo area, it gets very boring and frustrated, and it becomes increasingly, to me, unbelievable and convoluted to avoid answering the call. You know, you can only see so many visions and receive so many magical artifacts and be told by so many mentor figures that you have to do a thing and say no before it becomes like truly
Blood of so many old father figures are on your hand as they beg you to accept your destiny, and they get tragically killed in your arms. How are you going to sleep at night?
So we meet our protagonists, and then again, credit to the show for not wasting a ton of time on this. Pretty quickly, Lan and Moraine show up in the Two Rivers, and the Two Rivers is attacked by hideous dark fiends. Darkspawn, sorry.
Right.
Trollocs.
An army of 100 Chaos Beastmen from Warhammer's latest set show up and descend upon the village. Horrible creatures with horns and hooves, and they're really
and
big.
Snouts, and they make pig-like noises. I like
Now,
them.
in the books, Trollocs were like half animal, half people, and some of them look like parrots and birds and dogs and stuff, which I think Amazon said that's going to be too silly if we have like a big parrot man attack people. But I think that would have been cool.
I really liked the Trolloc design for the Amazon show. I actually was really like waiting to see if they looked shitty. And they did a really good combination, in my opinion, of practical and sort of like CGI effects. And they look scary. They look cool. They're, the fights were pretty good. Not great.
I think, okay, these
You
are
can disagree.
overall critiques. I think they're on screen for too much. One of the things about like that made Game of Thrones, and I think The Witcher like work very well, is like there's hardly any like special effects shit on the screen for more than like 2 minutes, right?
Yeah. I mean,
There's a lot of shots of the Trollocs, a
Yeah,
lot of
there's-
shots. And then after a while, you start to notice how bad the CGI blood looks and stuff. So
I agree with Matt. I liked the design, and I was happy with it, but we could have seen it for far less. And honestly, seeing them as shadows or brief shots or, closer, less sweeping battle scenes, so we didn't see, I think that would have been just as good. I have been reading about the Trollocs for 20 plus years now, so I was curious to see how they appeared on screen. I thought they were scary and monstrous and not too goofy looking, and I liked that. So A+ on the design, not so good on the decision making.
you're going to see a lot more Trollocs in the Wheel of Time.
Yeah.
You don't have to show them this much. I mean,
Yep.
the faceless man or the eyeless man, the Fade.
Right, the Fade.
very
Fade looked scary.
So, I mean, this is, I think, a broader critique is the Trollocs show up. Moraine fights them. They attack the village. There's a lot of big action scenes in basically every episode of this show.
Yeah.
Lots of big action scenes and scenes with, huge CGI effects. And I'm not sure that Wheel of Time actually needs this. I think you need that maybe once every 3 or 4 episodes at the least. Like, I don't need to see a sword fight
Yeah.
all the time. I'm not that horny for sword fights
I do like sword fights,
or
but
magic.
having just seen The Witcher, the fight choreography in Wheel of Time is not as good. So you don't need to give me a sword fight every episode.
Just put a little more effort into one sword fight every 3 episodes.
Well, and I agree with Matt on this. The books include a lot of very cool, again, to Jordan's credit, very cool set piece battles. Almost every book includes, like, here's 2 armies with who are evenly matched, or there's a lot at stake, and also maybe there's something else happening at the same time, and here's a very like dramatic climactic battle. And I would prefer that they just sort of save their budget and effort to make those really sing. There's also a lot of cool like short fights and battles, but you don't need to have like every skirmish with the Trollocs be a whole thing. Like that's gonna wear out really quickly. It already kind of has worn out 3 episodes.
It
in.
already kind of has. Like, if I have to see another shot of Trollocs running through the woods, that it will be the like one thing that makes me turn this up. Because otherwise, I really like it.
Yeah.
Spoilers. I really like it.
I liked it too. I thought it was. It's not great. It definitely was a little bit wobbly. Again, this is just because I've recently seen The Witcher, which was also not great, but really like nailed what I was looking for in terms of fantasy. But I enjoyed it, and God help me, Matt. I was gonna wait, but like I started watching it, and I was instantly like, boy, did it like pull at my stupid teenage nerd heartstrings. I was like,
Right. I'm remembering all these things from reading these books back in high school and college.
yeah, it was like, these are things I care about. I'm invested in these characters. Oh, no.
Gildan, I know that place. Oh, the White Cloaks.
Oh, Pat and Fane. I know him.
Oh, Pat
Yeah.
and Fane. I wonder who he could be. Your partner's like, who's this Joker? He's like, no one. He's no one.
I literally like I was sitting next to Alex, and I was like, oh, Pat and Fane, and she was like, who's he? And it's like, no, nothing. Never mind. Look,
He's a guy. Look, he's selling trinkets.
he's normal. Not important. So the first episode, they get attacked by Trollocs.
The first call of adventure is offered, accepted, and then later refused, and we're off into the woods for 2 more episodes.
Yeah, this didn't feel. I liked this because it's Moraine. Boy, Rosamund Pike is really like carrying the show, but she makes it's like, listen, if you stay, the Trollocs are going to burn down your entire village and murder everybody you loved. You 4, and this is the thing that's different from the book. Moraine is like, you 4, one of you is the Dragon Reborn. Come with me, or everyone you know is going to die. That's, it's a little contrived, but nobody like bitches about it at first. Everybody gets on the horse and goes, which I appreciate.
Right.
And off into the woods.
And yes, that's the big change, right? Or sorry, I think there are 2 big changes. I know like Wheel of Time nerds will point out the 1,000 things that are different.
Yeah.
But I think the only 2 things that matter, that are important, are, yes, in the show, the Dragon Reborn could be a guy or a girl, right?
Yep. So it could be Rand, it could be Matt,
Could
it could be
be
Perrin, it could
Egwene.
be Egwene. Not Nynaeve, because she's 25. Too old.
She's got that extra 5 years. Yeah, that you can really tell that she is much older than the rest of them. And then the other big change, and this is a pretty big spoiler for the first episode,
Yeah.
so if you want to pause here, you can, is that Perrin, in fighting off the Trollocs, kills his wife. And it's like brutal and like incredibly tragic. It kind of goes from like sad action scene to just like, oh shit.
It was very heavy for the first scene. So
Yeah.
let's talk about this, because this ties into like a lot of like Wheel of Time in general, but Perrin is one of the most frustrating characters for me
Right.
in all of Wheel
He's
of
the
Time.
one whose chapters you skim,
Yeah.
right? At the end, because his plots go nowhere.
And it's so frustrating because he's, in my opinion, so cool. He's a big,
Absolutely.
burly blacksmith guy who fights with axes and can talk to wolves, and later, again, big time spoiler, sorry everyone, travel through the dream world, and it's neat, it's cool, he's really interesting. And then in his chapters, he's just, I don't want to do that. I'm, I refusing to talk to the wolves who are my friends, and
Right.
I'm rude to my, wolf talking mentor, and
Yeah, he just like,
it's
he
just-
can't be like, I want to be a cool wolf guy. Like, he never, like, really until the like very fucking end, too.
he
And this is the frustrating thing, is in comparison to the other characters, like eventually like Rand, becomes like such a badass and gets so fed up that he actually develops a kind of cool personality.
he does eventually start doing things reluctantly, but he does do things.
Yes. And Matt has always had like this cool like asshole Han Solo personality, which makes him fun. Egwene like actually wants things and
Yeah.
does dirty deeds to get them done,
That's
which
right.
is, we love Egwene for that.
Mhm.
And Nynaeve is like also an asshole, a different kind of asshole. And it is fun to watch her like journey too. But like Perrin is the sore one out,
Yeah.
thumb in
Yeah.
our fist of main characters. And so what did they do? They fridged they gave him a wife and fridged her right away.
I straight up don't know what the point of this is. I'm wondering if this is somehow going, they were like, this guy doesn't have enough motivation, so let's give him a dead wife. I don't know.
It's like they really like have a deck of cards. They're like, dead wife, terminal illness. You know, like they're like flipping through the TV deck here.
Abusive father. Yeah, it's just what's the trope? So I don't know. I'm already like not encouraged because Perrin is already doing the I don't want to like stuff pretty. So
Right.
I don't know.
And I mean, to make
We'll
it more tragic, like he kills his wife,
He kills
like
his
an
wife.
unbelievable tragedy. It's and
Unclear
it's
why
through
that was
his
necessary.
like rage, like his
he was
rage.
surprised. He was
Right.
or actually maybe they're gonna be like, oh, it's like his battle rage that or something. I don't know.
Right. Maybe the wolf thing is also battle rage in the show. I don't know.
Anyway, we'll see where that goes. I'm really hoping that they rescue Perrin's character from the purgatory of the books because I think he's very interesting.
One of two steps right. They identified that Perrin is a weaker character.
right.
They just I have man, just be like dead wife, you murdered your wife by accident. Sorry. Seems like not the solution.
Yeah, this is a good time to talk about. I think. Well, let's get to the end of the first 3 episodes and then talk about.
So, yeah, we go through the woods for an indeterminate amount of time. The main characters, you know, figure out Moraine is pretty ruthless. We discover the basics of channeling. And
We
Aes
learn about the White
Sedai's
Cloaks,
three
which
O's.
are
The
basically
White Cloaks.
horrible, murderous inquisitors. I'm glad they
They're
introduced them
perfectly
early.
white cloaks.
They're
Ugh.
very evil and bad. They all have fashy haircuts. I actually kind of loved this.
Yeah, the fashy haircuts. I know they all have mustaches.
Yeah, I
and they
actually
got it high and tight.
you this is like you walk into like, you know, your your local like men's grooming establishment where everybody's got like a vest and like a pocket
Yep.
watch and they all the White Cloaks look like those guys. Like they got
Yeah,
mustaches
it's
and
very funny. Now, this is, I think, my other. Okay, did you have a hair complaint in this show? Like, with Randall Thor, I think maybe he's the only character. Like his hair looks too normal. Am I being a freak? Am I being weird about this? But I'm just like, everyone else's hair looks kind of like fantasy, right? But like Rand's hair looks perfectly normal.
this is not something that I like highlighted.
Is
but
this only a problem that I have?
now that you've pointed it out, like I did notice that Rand's hair looked
Like
normal.
he looks like he's out of an LL Bean catalog, right? With his little jumpers, his sweaters, and anyway, whatever. Yes, they encounter the White Cloaks. They actually are able to sneak past the White Cloaks. It's very terrifying. The Trollocs continue to hunt them through the woods. Moraine continues to be poisoned and die. Nynaeve escapes the Trollocs, shows back up. They head through the cursed city of Shadar Logoth.
Shadar Logoth, yes.
Let's see. And then our adventurers split up, and we now start the huge meat of the book.
Yes.
Where the party is split in Thrain.
Party gets split. Perrin and Egwene go off and they start meeting wolves, and it's very boring.
And they meet some not
not Roma.
Romani.
Not
Not
Roma.
Roma, and
Call
then,
themselves the Tuathan. Tuathan Don, whatever.
And then,
Tinkers.
Moraine and Lan hang out in the woods. They meet some Aes Sedai, and Matt and Perrin meet Thom, the Gleeman, and a dark friend in a
That's
mining
right.
town.
We meet the next coolest character. Yeah, Dom Merlin, the Gleeman,
Thom Waits Maryland.
who
He's
they
a very Thom Waits type.
who they made very cool and sexy and gave him a great guitar number. He performs and he's knows things and he's cool and throws knives, and a sexy dark friend seduces Rand, but he's too pure, so he won't.
He's too much of a good boy. They ask him, like, what's your motivation, Rand? He's like, well, I sit down and I try and do what's right, and then I try and do the next thing that's right. You're like, oh boy, what
Oh,
a
boy.
great character.
Anyway, so it turns out that this hot serving wench who apparently works alone at a tavern in a rough and tumble.
Owns a very large tavern alone that not only serves soup and fried things, but also beer. She's got it all covered.
this is not a unique complaint to the show, but I have a lot of questions about the economy of Wheel of Time that we'll get to a little bit later. So Rand and Matt are broke and lost, and also Tom steals their money because he's trying to teach them a lesson and they wouldn't tip him. You always got to tip your gleeman, folks. Tip your gleeman.
Yeah.
20% at least.
And then Tom kills the sexy dark friend because
That's right.
Tom knows about dark friends
That's
and
right.
also about Aiel, the mysterious Irish people who live in the desert. The Irish Fremen.
Irish Fremen, I was just about
Arrakis,
to say. So we learn a lot of things. We learn about the Dark Friends, which turns out that there are people who voluntarily serve the Dark One. And they do a good thing here where the Dark Friend is like, hey, listen, like the Dark One just like wants, like, look how shitty things are. The Dark One wants to make things better. And like, you might even believe that if it were literally not like, I'm the Dark One. You know, you gotta come up with a better name if you want people to believe,
Right.
you know, at least like Lucifer can go by the, you know, Morning Star at times and like sound a little bit more agreeable than, you know, actual Satan. But, you know.
Oh, yeah, the Dark One, he's here. He's going to send one of his horrible demons to collect you. He's the good guy.
He's the good guy. He wants to make things better for humanity with these monsters that eat people. Anyway. So that's where we're left off. And are they releasing one every week, or is it going to be like 3?
Yeah, we're down to a one a week
That's
schedule
okay.
after this.
I
There's
don't
gonna be
mind
8
waiting.
episodes in the first season. I can't imagine, Rob, that they're going to be able to get to the end of the first book. Maybe I will be surprised.
If they
But I
split up
feel-
the first book for the first season, I genuinely may stop watching. Like,
Rob, I mean, we're 3/8 of
Yeah,
the way
I know.
done.
I hear
and-
you. I don't see how they could possibly get there, but if they do that, I may be like, I'm out. I'm not watching this anymore because
Well-
it already is going to take long enough.
Speaking of taking long enough, Amazon has picked up the Wheel of Time for a second season.
I'm not
Overall
surprised.
thoughts on the show, and then let's talk about our love and hate of the books.
Yeah. So I liked the show. I think it's fun. I had my gripes. You know, I was already starting to feel. I guess so. So here's the thing. It's visually very appealing. Everyone looks like fun and interesting. The acting is fine. It's pretty good. Rosamund Pike again is really carrying the show. I like the decisions that they made. I was interested. You know, I was compelled. I'm glad that they are willing to make some changes, but you know, I guess my future enjoyment is predicated on them making a lot more changes, because if they stick to the pace of the books, and if they don't, not just the pace of the books, but like a lot of things in the books, it's going to suck, because the books already barely work as are, and they will not
Right.
translate to a television show.
We'll talk about this in just a second. But yeah,
But yeah, my initial response is it was good. It was fun. I liked it. My partner liked it.
Yeah.
We're all interested. I'll keep watching, but you know,
I liked it as well. I mean, sounding board, I called one of my friends who's like actually read all of the books through multiple times, unlike me. And, you know, I asked my other friend who had never read the books, like, you know, and everyone seemed to kind of like it. So they, you know, maybe I got the answer I was looking for. Not exactly a scientific survey. I enjoyed it. I thought it was okay, there's only 3 media companies left, right? HBO, Amazon, and Netflix.
right.
And they've all put together, for one reason or another, a tent-post fantasy adaptation of a popular existing franchise.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely feel like of those, The Witcher, Game of Thrones, and now Wheel of Time, this one's had the weakest start. I feel like, okay, a lot of people did not like The Witcher. I absolutely loved it. Right?
I loved it, and
I like
think-
it more
think-
than Game of Thrones.
Oh, it's better than Game of Thrones. And I think it's different, which is why people were expecting another Game of Thrones. But like, for all its complaints, I think that it was a huge success, and I think it would be hard to argue that.
Absolutely. Now, that being said,
Now, Matt,
I
you're
could never-
forgetting several failed starts, including Legend of the Seeker,
right?
which was an adaptation of the Sword of Truth books that ran 2
Right.
seasons, and Shannara, which I think ran 1 season.
One season, yeah.
And I
But
think
those
Shannara
were by
had
networks. Those
know.
were by networks.
Good
Rob.
point. Sorry, those were networks.
Those media companies don't count. They
don't
exist to
count.
create shows that it sounds like a computer came up with the title like 911 or
FBI.
NCIS Tacoma.
Right.
Or, whatever.
Good point. So sorry, of the new burgeoning media companies.
Well, what I was going to say is I honestly can't imagine myself ever going back to watch Game of Thrones, right? I can imagine myself going back to watch The Witcher, and maybe I can imagine myself going back to watch this. I don't know. I definitely think that Game of Thrones was such a stupid and weird cultural moment that was really good for fans of fantasy, but it's never going to happen again.
Could never happen again. Yeah.
This is not going to be the Game of Thrones. Maybe, Amazon will have to wait for their Lord of the Rings show.
I do think there was a pretty good amount of buzz around this, and I think people are into it. And I think as it picks up, we'll get a minor Game of Thrones phenomenon like we did with The Witcher, but
Right.
there's never going to be another Game of Thrones, So if that's what Amazon is looking for, they're not going to get it. But it's good. I'm optimistic.
Yeah, and I mean the other thing that I like about Wheel of Time is that it is okay. So no tits, right? Unless they're gonna surprise us later. I guess this is the no tits show.
The no tits
All the
show.
other fantasy shows also.
It was
have
sexy
tits
though.
and
It's a pretty horny show. Like it's not demure, right? It's not entirely sterile.
I feel like the horniness level is turned down from the books. I
think
could
so?
use a little more horniness.
I do. I mean, I could always use more. I don't need. I was just rewatching. This is a total side note. I was rewatching Altered Carbon, which was very much this is sci-fi with tits. And honestly, like it was a little bit tits and violence, but it was a little over the top. But I thought it was just interesting because of the way that they used nudity and naked bodies. But like, I don't watch television to be titillated. I don't. It's not sexy, but I do like it when there's like chemistry on screen and there's.
I just want the characters to have like blood in their veins.
Exactly. This is what I want. I want them to act like human beings who are attracted to other human beings. And this is a big complaint about Marvel, which is extremely valid, is that there's all these incredibly hot people, none of whom appear to be attracted. They're just like Ken dolls. It's just
this is the problem with the new Star Wars movies, right?
Yep.
Is the only good part of them was the two people who got a little bit horny for each other, and no one else had any blood in their veins, right? Anyway,
so yes, so this isn't too bad for that. The
I would like everyone to be a little more horny. Like Matt could be horny without being like just a weird sex pest all the time, right? He could, Han Solo isn't just a weird sex pest. He is that, but he also could be suave and charming.
That's right.
What I'm saying is, we'll see where it goes. Wheel of Time occupies such a unique space in that, like, the books are like they have all the complications and some of the politics of Game of Thrones. But essentially, they're like, a hero. They set out from the beginning being like, this is a story about a hero who's going to try and save the whole world, right? And let's see if he succeeds.
Right.
And, it's got all these fun rules and, like a very complicated world and color-coded wizards. And we like all that stuff. So we'll see how much they lean into that.
Well, and that's interesting.
Let's talk about the books. Let's switch to talking about it.
Well, and we may have to do a two-parter on this because we've already talked about the show for 45 minutes and books talk about for another hour, but we'll cover them in brief.
In the dark they see us working our way as women we toil for the future must save, and the choices are many. Find the right ones, the game. We'll fight till the end, till the White Tower saved. Ladies of the Tower,
we've already alluded to a lot of these things. The books, there's 14, and I had to go back and
a prequel.
I had to go back and double check. So my, cards on the table. I read the first 11. I read up through Knife of Dreams, and I read all of them up through Winter's Heart, which is the 9th one, twice. So my first read through, I think it was the early aughts, and so I read all the way through Winter's Heart, and then the next two came out, and I did a reread when Knife of Dreams came out, and then I stopped. I moved on to other things. I'm not like opposed to Brandon Sanderson. In fact, I've read a bunch of other Brandon Sanderson stuff, and I like him just fine.
Right, we like Brandon Sanderson. We've talked about his laws of magic for fiction on the show.
I love
we think
his
he's a good
Stormlight
author.
Archive. Anyway, so the point, I'm just saying, I didn't not read the rest because of Brandon Sanderson. I just was done with Wheel of Time. Full disclosure, that's how much I have read. So I've read 9 of them twice, at least twice. I think I might have reread the first book even another time because I really like the first book a lot. Compared to, frankly, almost all of the other ones, it is really compelling, interesting, pretty fast-paced, relatively.
Yeah.
If you're curious, I would read the first one and then cautiously read a few more. The point here is, so there's 14 books. So Matt, I'm just going to say, I think I can say this pretty comfortably. 14 books is too many. You don't need 14 books to tell any story. And if you do, your editor needs to tell you what the fuck is wrong with you.
Right. Robert James Oliver Rigby Jr. got too powerful. He became too successful. Like, his book sold 40 fucking million copies.
Yeah.
Right. Which is unheard of for a modern fantasy author. Let's talk about the good things of the books, at least for a change. Right. So we can all agree that, like, the books like 6 through 7 mostly move forward, and they needed to wrap up immediately after that. They did not. Apparently that was the halfway point, and that's their big failing, and will always be their big failing.
I read somewhere, and I don't want to be generous, Robert Jordan was very ill for the last part of his life, and those middle books I was reading were partially because he was still writing but unsure of where to go and was very sick during that time. Again, an editor should have said, take another crack at this or something, but to the extent that you want to give him credit, but there's... When we talk about the length of these books, I want to be clear. Some of them are almost 1,000 pages long. The shortest one, the shortest of the main series, is Path of Daggers, and that's still 672 pages long.
Yeah.
They're so we're not talking about brief installments. These are massive door stoppers. So, but let's talk about the good things. So, there are a lot of good things about these books, and there's a reason why they stick with us and why they're so compelling and why they've got so many fans. So I've got a whole list, but...
Okay, let's start with some rapid-fire things. They're compelling because it's the typical hero's journey. Boom, people like that.
It's also... This is both bad and good, but, like, everybody's got a cool thing. Rand, spoilers, can channel. Matt is super lucky. Perrin can talk to wolves. Egwene
can make magic items.
Items. Elaine can walk in dreams. Nynaeve is the most powerful channeler ever to have lived. Tom Merrilin is a gleeman who can throw knives. Moraine is all these things. Lamon Dragorin is the last king of a fallen Borderlands empire.
He's the ultimate badass. He's a Green Beret of fantasy characters. He's the Delta Force 6.
He is. You
should not fuck with him.
Do not fuck with Lamon Dragorin. But like,
which, by the way, amazing casting, right? Lan is like,
he's so
just
fucking cool,
gravelly, terse, and the actor, I don't know how hard that is to do as an actor, but it was done perfectly.
He's hot and he fights and he's gravelly.
He says very little.
He rules. He's maybe like my favorite casting. He's such a good character too, so I'm not surprised that I already like the show version, but
now,
great casting.
And then the next thing is that, like, the Wheel of Time series, if you're like, ooh man, I really like history and legends of the past and like rules for fucking magic. There's a lot of rules for magic. And there are a lot of stuff about the past and the age of legends and Lewis Theron Telemon, you once held the 9 rods of Dominion, and what are the 9 rods of Dominion?
Right.
That's so cool. Weaving is done like this. There are 5 types of power that you weave together.
Yeah, it's also if you're tantalized by like little bits of history or hints about the past, Wheel of Time is full of that. And the show did this very subtly.
Spoilers, it's the future. Oh, look, it's a mountain. That's a building. That's cool.
So did you notice this in one of the very first shots of the show?
Yes.
They showed all these mountains, which are obviously skyscrapers or that had been overgrown. I pointed this out to to Alex, and she didn't notice. But then there was like a big bridge that had fallen down, and this is this is in terms of the world building, something that I thought was actually pretty well done in the books. It's very, very subtly hinted at, and it's not a secret. It's obvious pretty quickly that it is the future. But and Robert Jordan,
we're living in the future we always dreamed of.
Robert Jordan loves an info dump and exposition, but he resisted the urge to really go down, so it leaves things open to your imagination. This is also a problem. So one thing that I loved about the books, but then I began to realize as I got to books 9, 10, 11, was that Robert Jordan's like, hey, wouldn't this be cool? And he'll drop like a hook. And lesson for dungeon masters, this is actually a great thing to do, but he'll be like, here's a cool magic item, here's a person I've referenced, here's an ancient civilization, here's a tower or a location. But then
here's a city that's a seaport but in the mountains.
Right.
Cool.
Here's Min, who sees visions, and here's 10,000 different symbols which may reference something which I'll figure out later. This is all cool, but then you're reading and reading and reading, and you're like, okay, when is that going to come back? Like, who killed this Forsaken in the last, in the epilogue of one of these books? We don't know who was standing behind the pillar, and we still don't know for sure, because I don't know that Robert Jordan knew. But
yeah.
There's a lot of like cool. There's always like a new magic, sangreal to find, and a old cool sword, or a bit of history. We don't have to talk. We'll talk about this probably some other time. But like the backstory of the Aiel is so
the backstory of the Aiel and the Aes Sedai, of like how they morphed from their Age of Legends thing, in which they were like utopian Jedi public servants in Thomas More's Utopia,
bureaucrats
to
yes.
like
warrior
like,
bureaucrats, my favorite type.
Warrior bureaucrats to the weird witches that pull the strings of power is great. And the Aiel from like pacifist bureaucrats to like Fremen, like warrior people of the waste. Very cool.
And you got to wait 4 books to learn this history.
Yes.
But the thing is, like, when it comes, it's very like, oh man, like the payoff is good. It's just that you get, Jordan clearly, and George R. R. Martin has this problem too. Like, he's got 2 or 3 like really like big like lore drops, like really exciting things that are clearly like seeded throughout the books.
Right.
That when they're revealed, you're like, oh man, it's all coming together. But then there's all this other stuff which does not fit together so nicely, and it makes it kind of disappointing.
Well, here's another thing I want to say about that dungeon masters can learn from the Wheel of Time books, is that while everything is like tightly world builded out for the most part, right? Oh, hey, these are these kingdoms that formed after the breaking, and they're basically like post-apocalyptic survivors, and then there were the Trolloc worlds, and then Arthur Hawkwing and the Ale. Like, we've got all this tight history, and like, oh, this is the age after the Age of Legends. But then also, I'm just gonna throw in a species from an alternate dimension or whatever, the Ogier or whatever. Like, he's willing
the
elfin and the elfin,
Aelfin, right? Here's some extra dimensional snakes and foxes, which are very cool, but also like not very well explored. And like, there's a children's game, Snakes and Foxes,
and that's fine, right? Yeah. It's okay to throw those. So I'm saying it's like, if you build a world out and you're like, everyone knows the 8 rules of magic that the first wizard put down, that's fine. But then like also put in like a weird extra dimensional alien that shows up and wants to have tea with you, right?
This is great. It's also like, it doesn't work super well in the books because there's too much of it, but it's a great lesson for DMs, I think, because you as a DM don't have to tie all those knots. Like, that's not the great thing. Is your players can decide what they want to know about. One of the coolest, here's a great example, right? In the second book, like we're already 1,000 pages in, we're introduced to the Sanshan, a whole nother continent of invaders who have arrived to reconquer the unnamed main continent where everybody lives, and Randland. And they have giant lizards which they ride, pterodactyls which they fly around on, and they've collared all of their magic users like made them slaves. Like, this is a whole
Like, and everyone's very freaked out about this because most of the main characters are channelers, right?
But this is the second book, and these aren't even like our main antagonists, right? Our main antagonist is still the Dark One and all of
And his army
dark
of
spawn.
beastmen. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we've got this whole, again, these people are actually really cool. The Sanshan, whatever, could be the antagonist, the entire like central focus of a whole other book series. But then there's them, and then there's the Darkspawn, and then there's also all this like human politicking, and it just gets very, very like overwhelming and messy, and no wonder it takes so long to tie all of these threads.
Right.
You know, this is what I meant by like kitchen sink fantasy. There's just too much. Sorry.
Well, if you're a dungeon master and you've got like a big plot about demons invading the world, you can always have people from another continent show up on pterodactyls. If the players aren't interested in that, you can be like, well, who knows if
they
their
got
will
defeated.
invade,
Yeah.
right? Or they're not interested right now. Or if the players are like, what's going on? We got to figure out these people. Then maybe they're planning an invasion, you know?
Matt, did it occur to you as you were preparing for this? This is basically the clan invasions from BattleTech. That Arthur Hawkwing sent his son out to conquer, and then hundreds of years later he returned to
They
reconquer
come back as
with his
yeah,
finely honed
war machine.
war machine. Anyway,
I mean, everything. Here's one of the other things is that again, Dungeon Masters, the Wheel of Time sold 40 million copies. And while it seems like much of the profits today will go to Jeff Bezos' global empire, I'm sure it made Robert Jordan and his wife a decent amount of money, I would hope.
I think they're quite wealthy. Yeah.
And you can do basically anything. You can and everything in this book feels like it's stolen, right? From the Wheel of Time and the being like some basic like surface level Wikipedia Hindu like cosmology
Right.
to like the Taoist symbol for magic.
It looks like
the
a yin yang,
yang.
and like it's like very
To the
very obviously.
Ouroboros to basically a post-apocalyptic
Gawain,
world.
Galad, the Green Man,
Yeah, okay,
Arthur
so-
Hawkwing, and his son, the Pendrag. Hello.
Now, okay, so Robert Jordan's, I think, defense would be like every name here sounds like a name of our hero because we live in the first age. This is the third age. All of those things would be myths in our age.
I see.
So that's why everything
Okay,
sounds
fair
like Galad and Arthur and stuff like that. But it's also just Robert Jordan is lazy and just changed every cool name from history, mythology, and legend into slightly different, right?
Yeah. Also, pro tip here to DMs and world builders: do not slap an apostrophe in the middle of a word. You just. That's not how language works. It looks and reads weirdly, and if maybe there were one, it would be one thing. But I'm looking at Terangriel, Taverin, Karakarn, Saangriel, Teleranriad. None of those words need apostrophes. None of those words need apostrophes.
Hey, I'm Al Thor. Welcome, welcome to the Two Rivers. Have you tried our mead? Yeah. Now,
I also
so the
one
world
thing I wanna-
building.
Go ahead, Matt.
Sorry, I just want to say it's cool. It's fine to set your like to me the also one of the cool things about the idea of the Wheel of Time and ages coming again is that it's kind of explicitly said in the books that this is one telling of the story, which if you're a canon nerd, which you shouldn't be, there's a canon explanation for why the show is different than the books. So you actually can't complain. It's just another telling of that age that has come and gone and will come again.
I like that. Again, I'm not a canon nerd, so I don't care, but that's a good explanation if you do care.
The one thing I want to say is about the first and second age, but we can come to that in a second. Go ahead.
Well, I wanted to bring this up. This is less useful to DMs, but it's something that I realized I had a problem with as I was rewatching the show, is that I don't like splitting the party. I listen, if you've introduced a group of cool pals who are friends with each other, and then you divide them into three groups, and then they don't see each other for, books at a time, that's kind of a bummer. And I feel like the reason why this is so common in fantasy is because this is what happens in Lord of the Rings, right? The Fellowship is broken and they don't reunite until ever, actually. But that's the specific story of Lord of the Rings, and it's upsetting and kind of tragic, but it works, I think, because of that. You do not have to split up your cool party of friends. They can stay as a group, you know?
In Wheel of Time, people never get back together, right? The original group that we see in episode 2 of the show is never, well, they'll get back together this book, but never again, right, after that.
And they very briefly, at times, one or the other will reunite, but their stories just kind of never, like, barely overlap at times, and kind of sucks, to be honest. Like, I am really, like, hoping that they create opportunities for them to interact or change this about the story, because am I going to be watching season 3 of Amazon's The Wheel of Time and it's a Perrin episode and I'm like, ugh, and you know, I'm waiting for it to be over so I can get to an episode about somebody I care about?
Or everything is just cut and jumbled up and we're skipping between 10 locations, right? Like a later episode of Game of Thrones, that it's tough to follow or stay interested.
A similar major problem with Game of Thrones, right, is everybody gets divided up.
Last thing I like about Wheel of Time is that, okay, it takes place in the Third Age. Our age of the world is supposedly the First Age. We know this to be true because there are a few legends about, like, Merc and Mosk and Lyn, who rode on a fire eagle to the moon, and his daughter, Sayla, like Sally Ride or something. Anyway, so, like, the only things that are remembered about our age are John Glenn and Sally Ride, which I find...
That's good.
Unlikely. Whatever.
I find that incredibly unlikely, but if we were going to remember anything, that's fine. It can be astronauts.
Yeah, maybe it should be astronauts. So the Second Age is the Age of Legends, in which technology and magic have, like, reached their apotheosis. It's sort of a utopia. Maybe there are some problems. It's so much of a utopia. They have so much limitless energy that they decide to, like, they discover a spot where magic is like, oh, here's a big well of dark magic. Let's drill into it.
Bore a hole in it. Let's drill.
Bore a hole.
Drill, baby, drill.
Right? And you sort of get the impression that this is the ultimate prison that Rand builds for the Dark One at the end of this book, right?
Yep.
That it will once again be
end of this book
reopened.
Series.
Right. At the end of the very fucking series, at book 14, it all comes back to them opening this, which is what like Luz Theron Telebon and his people do, right?
Right.
And I really like that, in that the Age of Legends, you can kind of explain it as like a far future of Earth. Like, you might not even, there's sort of some hints that, like, maybe even channeling isn't quite just magic. Like, maybe it's an evolved, like, psychic power that humans developed through, you know, another 100,000 years of evolution. And
well, and this is one of the, and we barely discussed them at all, which is too bad because they're very important. But the Forsaken, when you get any insight into what they're actually like, are a lot of them are like scientists. Like, they're very, very, like, rational investigators, or they were, you know, people of
there's not really scientists around anymore. Everything's in kind of Renaissance land now. But there's a lot of pikemen,
a lot of halberdiers, and especially the ones like you know, Lanfear. You know, they were investigators. They were they were trying to learn more about the weave, about magic, right? They weren't you know, they weren't wizards in the way that we would think of it, right? They were
right. The Aes Sedai are wizards, right?
Yes.
But in the Age of Legends, the scientists they're definitely like something from like a Jack Kirby Marvel comic. Like, they're far future, where technology and the magic that they use is like, ooh, we're gonna build a rocket ship with this magic or something cool. Why not?
Why not? For all of its flaws, Wheel of Time is a really interesting world. And
well, sorry, I was gonna say, and then, like, okay, yes, they've got this magic like stuff during the Age of Legends, but then Robert Jordan isn't afraid to get wacky with it, right? In that,
Yes.
like, oh, they discover parallel realities during the Age of Legends. Cool, right? Oh, there's people from other dimensions who have migrated to Earth, right? There's a little bit of like what we've got in like a Numenera type thing,
Or
things
like,
have gotten so weird. It's cool.
Gene Wolfe, like New Earth stuff. Like, just get weird with the magic science stuff. You know,
Yeah.
I like that too. That's always been something that I enjoy in my fantasy is get a little weird with it, you know?
What I'm saying is Robert Jordan has a very hard magic system. Everything's explained, like what the capabilities of magic are. Oh, you can heal people. You can't heal yourself.
I think this is in the role-playing game. Like, they even, like, mechanically, like, sort of chart out everyone's power level. Like, they've got a
Yes.
whole, like, thing for, like, your 11 plus 1 or your plus 2, like, level of Sidar channeling, which is insane. I hate it. But
So we don't
it's
have
there.
time to talk about the role-playing game, but it was an OGL 3.5 or sorry 3.0, D20 system thing. So if you thought it would be cool to to have a base attack bonus as Thom the Gleeman, you can, right? So it is 3rd edition Dungeons and Dragons ported over to Wheel of Time. It is out of print.
There's a lot more to talk about, and I have a ton more notes on character and world building, and I'd like to talk about some of the other shit, like the role-playing game. So, tentative, probable second episode on Wheel of Time, because there's
Maybe.
just so much more to discuss. But I think that there's a lot to be taken from this show and these books, and I think ultimately, these are a really good model for somebody who is building a role-playing game or a role-playing game world, right? Because the problem in the novels is that there's too much. There's too many hooks, too many characters. It gets to be like Gravity's Rainbow level of characters, like just so many named characters. You can't keep track of who all these fucking people are.
But in a role-playing game,
In a role-playing game,
you
that's not
can't
a
have
problem.
too many magic items. I'm sorry.
It is literally not possible.
The players will just discard the ones they don't care about. and the
They'll
problem
ignore
is
the
solved.
hooks they're not interested in. They won't talk to the NPCs they don't care about. This is a good model for when you're trying to build a rich world for players to explore and adventure in. Less so when you're trying to tell a concrete story.
The other thing is, like, I guess I would say the last caution, I can't believe we've gotten this far without talking about this, is maybe don't build a gender essentialist magic system. Right, Robert Jordan, very, I guess, people have talked about, like, all his female characters are basically the same. He has said, yes, that's true. They're all my wife.
All my wife.
Yeah,
Robert Jordan, the
he
original
only
wife
knows
guy.
one woman, and it's his wife. No more than one woman if you're a man. You should be able to write more than one type of woman. Don't have a gender essentialized magic system or something like that. That's weird.
One wonders, right? If can non-binary people channel? Does a trans person channel the other source when they transition? Like, I don't know. It doesn't, it falls apart the more you think about it.
Right. I
Don't
mean,
do that.
it falls apart if the only way it works is if your understanding of like human gender and sex are the understanding a guy growing up in the 50s and 60s in South Carolina had, I think.
Yeah.
So a sheltered guy,
Yeah.
which was James Oliver Rigby Jr.
It doesn't feel, honestly, as I was watching it, I was like, there are this is better. There's better women characters and writing than still in many fantasy and science fiction properties here in the 21st century. It's not great, but Robert Jordan has many female characters. They speak to each other. It passes the Bechdel test to the extent that anybody cares about that. And they're cool and interesting and have motivations outside of the men. So in that respect, it's pretty good for its time. It's just in other ways, it's very questionable.
And then last, but certainly not least, you got to give your hero. So we all know that women fall into three basic triune types: mother, maiden, and crone. But what the great things Robert Jordan has done that is he's updated that for like horny teen guys. And what if the three women types were Rand al'Thor's three girlfriends? So the three types of women, not mother, maiden, crone, but princess, badass warrior chick, and manic pixie seer girl.
Right.
So
Yes, that's right. The three types of
princess,
girls
warrior,
the
manic
three
pixie,
girls you'll
seer
date
girl.
in your 20s. Yeah.
When you're the dragon reborn. So,
Yeah.
yeah, again, one of the weird things is like Robert Jordan's chaste but titillating like poly relationship that his main character has. That is somehow it's incredibly chaste. I don't know. That's the only way I can describe it.
Yeah. It's funny because there definitely is a lot of the characters like wait for marriage to have sex, but then they
Yes.
don't. But then like Rand tries, but then fails because Avienda's too hot. I don't know. It's just it seems like his views on this were evolving as he wrote the
Right.
books.
Well, I mean, he did write the books over a 25-year period.
Right.
So, yeah, anyway, I hope the show, again, we just beg the show to be slightly more horny.
We make your characters act like people, please. I mean, Rand and Egwene fuck in the first episode. That's good. They're
Actually,
people.
that was a
That's
huge
good.
change. That was a huge change, right?
I think that was a huge and important change.
It was a huge, important change. And then another huge, important change, I don't know what you thought about this, is like one of the characters in episode 3 sort of assumes that Matt and Rand are a couple and is like, there's like some Seinfeld-esque dialogue that's like, not that there's anything wrong with that. It felt a little like dated and weird. I don't know.
This is another good point because it was trying to acknowledge that same-sex relationships exist because I don't think there are any in Wheel of Time.
There are none. But you could easily add one.
On the nose, but I understand why they did it. I do hope that they give somebody. God, they're gonna have to give somebody a. There's tons of like wives and whatever that they could update
Matt
to be.
Matt fucks. Make Matt gay. Make
Yeah,
Matt bi.
make Matt
something.
bi.
I
Make
don't-
him
yeah, I don't know.
love men and women.
The other thing that I thought was funny is the only like gay positive character, the only character that like mentions like, hey, it's cool to be gay, like 5 minutes later is like, would you like to serve Satan? And then like, I'm gonna murder you. I'm gonna feed you to that weird eyeless creature. It's gonna be
hopefully-
fun. I believe in nothing. Nihilism.
Hopefully, we get some better representation later in the show. But that was kind of now I've completely forgotten. Yeah, here's the thing: the books have zero trans, non-binary, non-cis hetero relationship representation. And I'm not excusing that at all. I am actually not saying you should read the books. By the way,
Yeah.
I liked them. They have a special
I mean,
spot
I
in
like
my
them
heart.
fine. There's worse things you could read.
I would not read them again. But if you do read them, be warned, they're very, very heteronormative.
Yeah.
Heteronormative.
One thing the show did is I think it did a better job of maybe casting the books as I think the characters are actually described. I don't think I assumed there would be a lot of people complaining that like the characters were not all white. Plenty of them are white. Don't worry, watchers. There will be plenty
don't
of
worry.
white characters in Wheel of Time, but like less of them are white than some of the like fan art or cover art depicts. But I don't think all the characters, even in the main series, are described as white. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think Robert Jordan uses skin color. Yeah.
Obviously a very white thing to do to like just also never acknowledge skin color. Anyway,
If anybody complains about this, they're a fucking idiot. One, you can recast anything you want. Two, there's absolutely no reason for the character of the Wheel of Time to be all white. It's the third.
first off, the
age.
entire world is like a refugee community from the apocalypse. Secondly, Two Rivers are also like a refugee community.
Right.
Taken from all over. So, whatever. Wheel of Time show, it was enjoyable. They made some positive changes.
Yes, I'm encouraged by the changes that they made. I liked the casting. I liked the show. I'm looking forward to a bunch of people discovering it and hopefully liking it and reading one book and being like, whoa, this is not the same thing at all. And hopefully doing something else with their lives.
You know what? Honestly, you could do worse than just reading The Eye of the World.
Yeah.
It seeds a lot of fun things.
And then just read the synopsis of the rest.
Yeah, exactly. You can be like, damn, this goes in some strange places. wow, these characters do nothing for 4 books.
Well, I hope this was interesting and entertaining to you. I hope that you learned something. If you've got thoughts about Wheel of Time that are not, hey, you got something wrong, feel free to tell us about it. If we did get something wrong, I don't care. Don't tell us. But if it's anything
If
else,
we got something wrong in our analysis, feel free to tell us. If we got something wrong in our lore about Wheel of Time, we're shelving that back into the furthest reaches of our mind palace once again.
yes. So thanks for listening. Yeah, if you've got questions or thoughts, please write us at dmofnone@gmail.com. Add us on Twitter at dmofnone. Let us know if you enjoyed this, if there's something else you want us to talk about. We've got a few more of these in our pocket coming up. Happy, if you're American, Thanksgiving. Enjoy your giving of thanks. Yes. Stay healthy, stay safe, and keep rolling them dice.
Through the passage of time unfolds the mysteries of life and its kind. The story is told and the words spoken true of the force from inside. In the balance it holds